Good morning to you all. I'm Carla Fernandini, Director of Strategic Development of SUMA, and I'd like to welcome you to this big event. We are very happy that you made it to Antigua. It was a logistic challenge to bring you from so many countries from the region. We have 11 countries attending and international organisms from the chain. We are very happy from SUMA, LADOEX, GP, IDRC, and the Ministry of Education of Guatemala, our host of this event. So first, we'd like to thank you for your presence. We hope that this encounter is a good one, that you have fun, you enjoy, you learn, you share. So, welcome. We will start with this regional meeting, KIX LAC, guaranteeing the integral development from the early childhood education for social justice in Latin America and the Caribbean. This relevant instance wants to challenge these experiences and these exchanges. Is organized by the Center of Interchange of the Caribbean, KIX LAC, led by SUMA, Laboratory of Innovation for Latin America and the Caribbean, in collaboration with the OCS and IDRC from Canada and the World Alliance for Education. This regional encounter is a valuable encounter to reunite over 100 important actors, including representatives from the ministries of education from 11 countries, syndicates of teachers, representatives of the academy, organizations of the society, and international organisms. We are very happy to have you here, and we have the representatives of Belize, Bolivia, Dominica, El Salvador, Grenada, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia. Please, let's give them a round of applause. I would also like to greet all the authorities who are with us today. Mrs. Anabela Giraca, Minister of Education of Guatemala. Francisco Cabrera, Vice Minister of Education of Guatemala. Mauricio Pineda, Minister of Education of El Salvador. David Anglo, Minister of Education of Grenada. Curtis King, Minister of Education of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Robert Rennings, GISTEC, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education of Dominica. Lisa Sargosin-Terres, Technical Senior Specialist of the OECS, Marto Vanelli, Regional Director for Pacific, Asia, Europe of GP. A big region he has. Trisha Wynn, Leader of Programs of GP KIX of IDRC. Florencio Ceballos, Program Officer from IDRC. Sonia Garcia, International Development Program of the Canadian Embassy in Guatemala. Caterina Cruz, cover from the GPE. I will mention Ian McPherson, also from GPE, and Javier Gonzalez, Director of SUMA, and Rafael Carrasco, Subdirector of SUMA, who's also here with us. And now I'd like to thank very especially to the Ministry of Guatemala, the minister and all their team. They've been a wonderful host country. They've helped with all the coordination, logistics, and we ask for a big applause for them, for the Ministry of Guatemala, of Education of Guatemala. Thanks for opening the doors of your country and above all to this beautiful, magical city. We will have the opportunity to get to know it, but thanks for having us here in such a beautiful and generous place. This event is a big opportunity to get to know from close the experiences and the realities of all the countries that make up KIX, as well as building together an agenda with priorities in the educational field as a route to advance to the transformation of the educational systems of the region. In this frame, we will have 3 days of sharing. Day 1, today, we want to listen. Listen to you, your needs from each country, the challenges you see, the initiatives that you are having in your countries. The second day, we need to reflect from the evidence, from the technical knowledge related exactly with those priorities that you're identifying in your countries. And finally, on the third day, we want to build, to make a collaborative work in all the region, to generate those work agendas that frame the initiatives and the efforts to go from this evidence and investigation to action, and be able to effectively work on those gaps that we share in the region and the educational systems. Transversally, we'd like to make an emphasis on strengthening the learnings, which is also the topic that has us here in this agenda, and the holistic development from the early childhood. And therefore, it is key to generate materials and to use a context to each of our realities in each country. To open this meeting, I'd like to leave you with a video from this yearly meeting. Some of you were in Honduras 2 years ago, also sharing a similar experience, and we'd like to share the video of that experience that shows us a little bit of this KIX LAC's trip with some testimonies of the representatives of the countries, of you, and all the institutions that make this happen. So I leave you with this video, and then we will continue.
Esto es un programa que venimos trabajando ya hace 3 años en partnership con GPE, en partnership con IDRC y con OECS, y que es liderado por SUMA. Pero en realidad es liderado por los países, por su gente, en la búsqueda de entender mejor cuáles son sus problemas, sus nudos críticos, en buscar mecanismos de solución y, más importante aún, en movilizar esas soluciones para cambiar la realidad.
Estamos empujando que las conversaciones, los intercambios, los aprendizajes refieran a políticas de Estado que trasciendan las políticas gubernamentales y las administraciones. Ese es el horizonte, es decir, en 5 años, en 10 años, en 30 y 50 años tendremos sistemas educativos distintos.
SUMA is an opportunity for us to meet with our Central American and Latin American brothers and sisters and to exchange ideas, look at the innovations happening, to share what we are doing that is exciting.
Se trata de intercambiar conocimiento, de generar conocimiento, pero de intercambiarlo y de movilizarlo y de que se use.
Lograr meter evidencia
en los procesos de toma de decisión de política educativa.
Desde la plataforma KIX sí se logra impactar en la política pública porque tenemos resultados basados en evidencia, es decir, los resultados de una investigación. Y al ser resultados de una investigación son resultados objetivos que nos llevan a nosotros a tomar decisiones objetivas.
En el caso particular de nuestro ministerio y en el marco de la Alianza Mundial por la Educación, de la cual El Salvador forma parte, el KIX se vuelve en este compañero que investiga, informa, comparte las valoraciones de su quehacer y con ello nos permite impulsar y tomar las decisiones que esperamos sean las más propicias para el desarrollo de la educación en El Salvador.
With a project like KIX, it actually allows us to create our own body of knowledge, and it empowers us in terms of seeing, hey, tell you what, we don't have to depend on our own resources, but we can combine resources, we can do comparative analysis to see what is truly going on with our region.
We can lean on each other, we can strengthen each other, we can share best practices, and we can learn and take home and live back with others too.
I think it's time that as a region, we come together to address the issues that are of concern to all of us. And the fact that SUMA is leading this initiative is commendable, and it's something that needs to be done for the region.
Nos hemos dado cuenta, por ejemplo, de experiencias que han tenido en otros países, cómo se han enfrentado problemas similares y cómo poder buscarle soluciones en base a experiencias que tienen otros países a problemáticas comunes.
Even though there is a geographical proximity, countries are very focused on what they are doing. And so the value of what SUMA and OECS are providing is this platform to be able to exchange openly, candidly about what works and what doesn't work in policy reform.
Now, this help that SUMA gives us is not just about the University of the West Indies. It is about the nations of the Caribbean, because the university is responsible for building education programs for the Eastern Caribbean. So each of the national colleges in the Eastern Caribbean, the ministries of education, we work with them. So what we do, the work that we do, the work that SUMA has helped us to do, has great impact in the Eastern Caribbean.
El último trabajo que hemos realizado con SUMA ha sido sumamente importante, ha impactado comunidades alejadas y el impacto ha sido para el director, el supervisor y los docentes, o sea, todo el equipo escolar que va a estar atendiendo a nuestros estudiantes. Así que para nosotros ese trabajo con SUMA ha sido un trabajo muy colaborativo, muy espontáneo, muy pertinente, muy inclusivo para la educación panameña.
Es importante decir que la inclusión, ¿no es cierto?, tiene que ver con nuestra capacidad de reconocernos, nuestra capacidad de valorarnos y especialmente de construir sobre nuestras diferencias. Eso, y con ese foco, es que también trabaja KIX. No es investigar por investigar, no es innovar por innovar, es evidencia que impacte la justicia educativa en nuestros países.
I would say congrats to SUMA for doing a wonderful job in the region.
Did you like the video? Yes? I think this meeting was very nice, and we remain with high expectancies that we're sure we're going to overcome this fourth meeting that we're starting of KIX. And this is thanks for the participation and collaboration of all of you and all our partners that we work with to achieve this. So, well, hoping that this video has inspired and motivated you for this new regional meeting, I'd like to invite Javier González, Director of SUMA, to give us some words to take our place in these 3 days that we will have ahead of us. Thanks, Javier. Good morning to you. I see many friendly faces, colleagues, partners. It's a nice day. I say this sincerely. I mean it from the heart, because we see each other online. Sometimes in some places we do this, but it's a privilege today to be able to see ourselves. Thanks for the Minister of Guatemala, Ministry of Education, to have us here in this really wonderful city. And it's really nice to see the faces, as I was saying, from our main characters, the global education groups, from the academy, from the society, from many places, from the teachers' syndicates, everybody together with a vision of a society, the society we want to build. And this is why we wanted to start with this video you just saw, because it's important if we are going so fast with this polarized and fast world, that we have a hard time conversating, building, and trusting. Especially in Latin America, we see the indicators, trust indicators are among the lowest in the world. So again, to reconnect and see that we are more than the number we were 2 years ago, and we're stronger. We are much stronger than before. Why? Because we've been working on that. Really, we're working from trust, from humbleness of listening. What's that you need? Our partners, without them, we would be nothing. GPE, IDFC, not only financing, but also with leadership, technical support for the work we do, together with the OCS. And from this Latin American context, we're trying to build an agenda. If there is something that distinguishes this project, KIX, is the real determination, not just in words. We've listened to that. There's a real commitment to put each country to drive this car of educational policies. Many times what we've had in Latin America and the Caribbean, and we know that, is that the agenda is imposed by someone, imposed from the outside. And since we have limited resources, we just have to accept it. In the best of cases, negotiate the objectives of a policy that answers to a standard that wants to be imposed upon us. But this global effort of KIX is that exactly there's a decision of having the countries themselves lead. Let's give them a space to have them lead the agenda. And this is something that I want to say publicly, not because you're financing. No, it's because you could be financing the old-fashioned way, or do it like you do in a logic where you try to innovate. I'd like to have within this logic to speak about some aspects that I consider key of how to move forward, because we've been building this. We're here in Guatemala after 5 years of KIX being created, and the question is what lies ahead. We've built these relationships, with trust relationships. We've been perfecting this muscle of listening, but it's not enough because the region, the challenges are too many. World Bank tells us that 80% of the students of 10 years cannot understand a simple text when they read. Sometimes we debate about AI, the new informatical paradigm, and what the pandemic brought us, which was like a shower that we had upon us, that technology is limited, is hugely limited. And sometimes, yes, it helps. We need to go back to the fundamental, which is topics as important as literacy. In some countries in Latin America, we are already going back to early literacy because we are still far away from having illiteracy. We have a third of the students of 6th grade, of básico grade. We still have big gaps. We have big challenges. In this logic of the challenges, upon what we've built, how can we move forward? And we need to speak about some principles and then go back and deepen. One is the appropriation, ownership, which OECS say. Who says what's a priority? And this may be basic, may seem basic, but it is probably one of the most important topics. How do we give ourselves the time to listen, to channel, and really prioritize upon this? Second, the principle of co-creation. We're co-creating within the academy, the syndicates, the ministry educations, the regional institutions. It's not just about cocktails and good intentions. No, we're trying to co-build among the important sectors and creating trust, because this is, of course, fed by fruits that we see. So, appropriation, second, co-creation, and third, the collaboration. It's not just for collaboration. We just speak of collaboration. We come to these meetings and we say, yeah, everybody wants to help. But the question is, why? Why spend time of our officers, of our delegates? And we believe that a key principle, perhaps the key principle, like Roltz, a famous philosopher, said, like systems of knowledge are based in principles to search for truth. This same philosopher said that the society had to be founded on social equity, according to this very famous 20th century philosopher. We need to look for social justice, and we know this in Latin America, unfortunately, more than any other society. We know this here in the Caribbean too, I add. Because, yes, we're not the poorest continent, but we are the continent that's more unequal. And yeah, sometimes we fight for the last spot with the sub-Saharan Africa, but we have big inequalities. It's not just a random inequality, it's a structural inequality, because they are set within our societies, within our economies. But besides, they are structured because they don't come out of nowhere. Public policies also has a political component, and that's important because we need political discussions to happen. But within these policies, the field is uneven. We have big power asymmetries fed from these inequalities. So this principle of social justice, not just the end, but the road, how to integrate the voices of our teachers, of our children in original places, and our LGBT populations, people who are in jail. How do we integrate all this in our policies? Sometimes it happens, and I say this because I know this from the education ministry. Education is not transversal, because you define policies and then we say, oh, we needed to say we need social and gender equality, and we just add this as something on top. But no, this social equality should be in the center, because we need to acknowledge and value, and not acknowledge and value, but What we need more is to build upon these differences, that the teachers see that there's a richness within the class to build on that. Now, to build this, we need evidences, and evidences sometimes is scarce in Latin America and the Caribbean, and that's why we need to make a very big effort, because we need to have evidences, and therefore the fifth principle that I want to highlight from appropriation, co-creation, evidence, informing, the principle of justice and evidences are the mechanisms, innovative mechanisms, and I want to highlight a mechanism that has been co-created in the KIX environment, which is the calcium support. And why do we think this is important? Because at the global level, we need to say, if I'm wrong, then correct me, is that we've been pioneers in Latin America. In fact, we have the Ministry of El Salvador, who has been a pioneer in this mechanism. And what this mechanism does is it synchronizes two big differences. One is times of innovation, development, investigation, and knowledge on one side, which is a kind of a slowly moving mechanism, and then the political times, where we have to handle the population what they demand, the right to education. How do we make these two things come together? Because we need solutions right now, and sometimes loans, which are essential and program, are needed to transform it. And we need to build this temporary bridge. We need to synchronize these two mechanisms, and this allows the countries to access investigation, to development, and make the best use of these policies. We have good examples. We is the University of West Indies is some kind of country support where we are working off. The ENIS at the Caribbean, that's right. In El Salvador, through the transformation in Honduras too. So we are working in many ways in this sense. And lastly, the topic of the impact. There's a real commitment to say we cannot stop at nice papers and conferences and meetings and nice ideas. There's an ethical obligation to really advance to action. But it's not an action of just innovating for the sake of innovating. It has to do with how we transform our educational system, and that's why we want to go beyond the piloting, beyond the RCT, which is very valuable, but it's a parallel route to social transformation, to the one we need to take. So what we need somehow is to push this transformation, including all these international partners, national partners in the reforms of each country, starting from these elements: innovation. How do we innovate? Do we innovate from evidence? Again, it's not from anywhere. It's an innovation directed to the pedagogical nucleus and their conditions, sustained by the second element, which is financing. We believe that financing is key for our countries to be able to advance. And here I have two evidences. Is there evidence? Not really. So we know there is a correlation from evidence to the founding. In Latin America, OECD invests about 12. So can we innovate? Yes, we have to innovate, but we have to invest. And in order to invest, we need the private sector, we need the public sector, and to have some reforms to catch up to our, in regards of our level and our tax reforms. So I'd like to thank the community in order to create these meetings, their efforts, their capacities. And we'd like to invite you to what Carla was saying, these great days today, to listening. Listen to us. Sometimes we're using the phone, there's a call, there's a mail to be sent. Let's try to create this magical bubble, and I include myself because sometimes you have the temptation of watching the mobile and you're focused on one presentation. But no, let's give us the present of listening to us. Second, to reflect, really reflect upon this world that doesn't stop. Let's give us this present to be here, present at this beautiful city of Antigua. And the third day, we want to invite you to co-create and really go from the commitment to the action. So thank you so much. Thank you, Javier, for your words. We hope that all these key principles that Javier was saying are with us along this event, innovation, co-creation, and the impact to transform our educational systems. Now, I want to invite Mrs. Anabela Giraca, Minister of Education of Guatemala, to give us some welcoming remarks. Good morning. How are you? Today, the volcano of Agua is receiving you dressed as a bride. It had a little white veil around it. Also, the sky is crying a little bit, but I hope that it stops soon and allows you to go out and walk around this beautiful colonial city that welcomes you with open arms. Guatemala hugs you. Guatemala very enthusiastically and very planningly, with meetings that we've had to reach this wonderful meeting. I hope you can enjoy those nooks of the city and that you have a time to walk around it and walk back to the past, a past that screams the history of this city. I'd like you to make it yours and that it becomes part of an unforgettable experience. Soaked in this word that is really wonderful. Maybe from the words of the dictionary, one of the words that are most beautiful, and it's meeting. It means that everybody has a road, but there's an exact point that makes us come together, makes us look at ourselves, look at each other's eyes, and be better. The truth is, I was looking at the route we want to make, and this meeting is fundamental because through our voice, our experiences, and this baggage that we all have from all our nooks in this beautiful region of Latin America, it allows us to have a conversation. I love the idea of first listening. This allows us to listen to ourselves. Many times we feel so alone. But when you are in these spaces, you say, okay, no, we are many that are experiencing the same thing, many who want to transform, many who want and are living our life, our time, our ideas in order to transform education of this wonderful region. I love the exercise of listening. I love the exercise of reflecting upon as a team where everybody adds their own experiences, different realities, but at the end, it's the same things. And that this allows us to listen to us, reflect, and of course, as you were saying, co-build in as a team this route that allows us not only to feel better. It's not just a matter of feeling that we're together, but this allows us to go hand in hand as a region and really try to follow and build this route. I think that in order to invest, the word inclusion that we have heard is fundamental. We cannot think of education if it is not inclusive, if it's not fair, and if it's not based on the truth. This is the education that we'll look forward to, because when education turns into a discrimination tool, we have failed. No more education as an exclusion tool, discrimination tool, but we need education as a possibility of inclusion, justice, equity. We are all convinced of this. We are here sitting down to support ourselves, one another, to feel, share also this feeling, because education is also emotion, passion, illusion, deliverance, happiness, all that I see in your faces, your applauses, when you're here coming to this place, reaching to this point. This is part of the formula, this passion, this laughter and happiness to say, yes, let's transform, we need to do this. We have the privilege of having the opportunity to do it and do it really. So, welcome to this wonderful region of Latin America. I hope that we have good ideas coming out, these ideas that allow us to walk through a wider path, a clean path, free. These ideas that allow us really to have a better education that we all aspire to. With a lot of illusion to the organizers, thanks. You know that from the beginning we said, this is your house. I ratify this as Guatemalan. Once again, welcome to this place, to this your country, to this your city, colonial city. And I hope that this veil of a bride that wraps the volcano today is and stays within your hearts. Thank you. Thank you, Minister, for your nice words and all your warmth that you're showing us from your words. Now, I'd like to invite Lisa Servicing, Technical Specialist in Education from the OECO, to have and share with us some welcoming remarks. An applause for her, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished ministers, colleagues, partners, and friends. It is really a great pleasure for me to offer remarks on behalf of the organization of the Eastern Caribbean States Commission, what we call the OECS, at this very important KIX LAC Regional Meeting. Warm greetings to all colleagues. Bienvenue, bienvenidos, me encanta. That's the word I picked up from Minister, and I'm really loving the experience already. We are deeply grateful to be part of this very diverse and committed regional community united by a shared vision. The theme for this meeting, it truly resonates deeply with the OECS core mission and our shared belief that early childhood is the critical foundation upon which lifelong learning, well-being, and social equity are built. As a regional body rooted in the principles of integration, cooperation, and equity under the revised Treaty of Bastille, the OECS recognizes that holistic early childhood development is key to nurturing not only cognitive skills, but also the social, emotional, and physical capacities of every child. Our regional education sector strategy reflects this conviction, positioning early childhood development at the cornerstone of educational success and social transformation across all our member states. Allow me to share with you some of the flagship initiatives that embody this commitment. The OECS Early Learners Program, which we fondly call the ELP, was a multi-country effort advancing foundational literacy for grades K to 3. The OECS Pearl also addresses 4 foundational pillars vital to quality early childhood education: enrollment, staff capacity, curriculum quality, and governance. Complementing these efforts, the OECS Early Childhood Education Quality Curriculum Framework and Standards serves as a guide for investments in teacher development, child well-being, and play-based learning, again, reinforcing our commitment to holistic development from the earliest stages. At the OECS, we understand that the challenges of early childhood development demand collaborative, evidence-informed approaches. Our partnership with SUMA, IDRC, and the GPE through KIX amplifies our capacity to innovate, to strengthen research, and to ensure that no child is left behind, particularly in those developing states facing compounded vulnerabilities. I also want to highlight that the cross-cutting themes of this meeting are also urgent imperatives. I invite all participants to engage deeply, to share insights, to be honest about our realities, and build lasting partnerships that advance foundational learning and holistic development for all our children. So on behalf of the OECS Commission, I extend sincere thanks to the government of Guatemala and all partners hosting this meeting. Let us move forward with shared purpose, grounded in a regional solidarity and unwavering commitment to the promise of early childhood education as the foundation for lifelong learning and for thriving communities. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for KIX LAC. It's been key to work jointly, SUMA and OX, and the valuable strength of this collaboration, this strong joint collaboration, as Lisa was saying. And to continue with this event, we invite Marco Mantovani, Regional Director for Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean and Middle East. I will say it faster next time, from GPE, to address us some welcoming remarks. This is like a galactic director, right? I will start in Spanish. I haven't used my Spanish in public events in a long time, but I would like to do this as a recognition to our host country, represented by the ministry and her team. Thanks for opening your door, the open door to your country of this beautiful city, to all of us. It's a pleasure. Let me also thank Javier Gonzalez, and the team of SUMA for the organization and the partnership with OECS that allows us to have this meeting. I will continue in English because I haven't had enough coffee to have a simultaneous translation from English to Spanish, so I'm sorry. Thanks.
Beside the goals that we have here, which are great from the perspective of GPE, KIX, this is personally a great opportunity. I started my unfortunately long career in development in education in Latin America, and I've met here with people from my past. It's an opportunity to come back to a region where I started working in development in education. I remember starting with some small projects in the Eastern Caribbean countries, in St. Lucia, Grenada, Dominica, but also moving afterwards to Bolivia, Colombia, so it's a region dear to my heart, and it's a great opportunity to be back and to talk about education. I'll make a few points, complementing what I already heard and which I support from previous speakers. Probably there's never been a more important time to make the case for investment in education. Part of my job with that long title is to go around and talk also to donors countries. And never I was, in my long career in development, put starkly in front at the dichotomy, we need to invest in defense and we are cutting education. I heard this from partners. It's shocking for someone who spent so many years working on this agenda, but you hear this nowadays. You open the news and, okay, to say the least, they're not uplifting. We are a time of change. We are a time of change. A time of change bring conflict, as we have seen it. And my personal belief, and the one of my organization, the Partnership for Education, is that this is the moment to redouble the effort for making the case for investment in education. Not just as human rights, but as a force for stability, resilience, and improvement of our societies. So the case is clear. We need to redouble their efforts. At the time where international ODAs are cut back, we need to protect national budgets. We will work as GPE with the ministers in this region and other regions to make the case how to protect your budgets, but also how to leverage other sources of financing, as Javier mentioned, because it's equally important to bring in new, innovative financing to this agenda. Ultimately, we owe this to future generation like never before, because it's a time that is changing the international order. However, we cannot just talk about volumes of education. We need to talk about volume of financing. We need to talk on how to use these funds for maximum impact. And this brings us to the topic here today. What is the evidence? What do we know that works? What do we know, and what do we not know yet, and we need to know to make sure that the ministers at this table have every information possible to make the case for education, but also to invest those funds for results, to achieve results. We owe this to our constituencies, our taxpayers, get the maximum out of those funds. Knowing what works and what doesn't work, not globally, but in specific country contexts, is critical at this stage. And so this is the topic here today. We are here to understand how evidence must be generated, how the politics of knowledge needs to be handled to give responses to the actors, the local actors in this room and outside this room and all the partners who care about advancing education. So that's the second point I wanted to make. The third, so the second point is how to ensure the returns to our investment in education. The third is it's the P in our organization, meaning partnership. Education, as you all know well, is everybody's business. It's not just of the Minister of Education or the teacher unions. It's a common effort that requires different views, and these different views need to coalesce into a program that pushes in the same direction. So partnership. This is again a topic that will be discussed here. South-South knowledge exchanges, but also being open to involve all the actors that sit around the table that can change education. Each one has a role. And it's important, again, going back to evidence, to understand what their role can be and how we can achieve innovation going forward. With that, so those three basic points, I'd like to conclude by thanking again the organizer of this event. We're really looking forward to the discussion. The agenda is rich. But rich in a good way. It's not just a lot of discussion. It's rich in a way that we will allow us to extract important lessons to move forward in our daily work. Thank you again on behalf of the Secretariat for Global Partnership for Education, and looking forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Thanks for your remarks, Marco, and reminding us of this investment in education and financing that's inclusive, equitable, and that allows us for a bigger impact, and this collaboration South-South. And we want to stress upon during this meeting. And to continue with this first section, we will invite Tricia Wind from IDRC to give us some words. She's the leader of the program GPE KIX from Canada. And please, Tricia, come to be part of this opening ceremony.
Hello to everyone. Really want to acknowledge what an impressive gathering this is, and I feel like it speaks also to the evolution and visibility of GPE KIX in this region. We are grateful, so grateful for your presence, the presence of ministers of education, presence of ministry officials, of civil society, of researchers, of technical and funding partners. I want to extend greetings from the GPE KIX team at the International Development Research Center and the whole of IDRC. I want to thank especially the warm words of welcome from the Minister of Guatemala. I think we feel your great welcome to us, and thank you for that. So GPE KIX is a mechanism of the Global Partnership for Education. It is here to support GPE partner countries to have and use the evidence and innovation they need to achieve the overall goal of GPE. And across the world, we see partner countries making great use of KIX. Just last year, 25,000 people have been taking part in over 500 meetings and events to share what they know and what we are learning through targeted practical research. Through the regional hubs like this one in KIX LAC, but also 3 others, as well as through the applied research that we are able to support. They have been producing 450 primary research outputs, but more than double that in outputs that are helping make use of that evidence and innovation. The vast majority of the applied research that GPE KIX funds is done by organizations in the regions and in the countries in which the research is to be used. That it is being done by the people who are closest to the challenges, but also know deeply how do you adapt innovation? How do you think about scaling the impact of things that are working so they can work in the very specific contexts of our education systems? This is not some sort of just academic research for the sake of research, as we've heard a couple of times. This is not just research whose primary intent is to write an academic paper that frankly is often behind a paywall so that nobody reads it beyond the academic community. This is research for education systems that is translated immediately into improved teacher training, improved access to quality early learning, to better data systems. So that's a lot of research that we've been able to fund, and we know that it's impossible to read all of the studies from very many different projects. So we've commissioned also synthesis reports that bring together the first batch of learning on all of those key topics that I think you are also dealing with in this region: early childhood education, teacher professional development, educational options for children who are out of school, taking seriously equity issues. I think there's going to be a poster around where there's a URL code or one of those pixels where you can go straight to those synthesis reports in English, French, and in Spanish. But again, it's not just having the knowledge. It's about building capacity and mobilizing that knowledge into better policies and practices. An evaluation earlier this year told us that 80 to 95% of people who've been involved in the regional hubs have reported that they have improved their knowledge and skills through their participation in KIX. We've heard that over half of them said, yeah, we have used our learning through KIX for concrete improvements in policy, planning, and implementation. Across KIX, we have seen more than 100 very specific instances of countries using evidence to improve policy and practice. So this is happening. We know that it's happening in this region. Already, Javier have reminded us of important opportunities that El Salvador took in using this opportunity to inform their policy in El Salvador, that OECS countries are using KIX as just a piece of their efforts to improve their MS, that applied research is helping improve pedagogical strategies in Honduras and supporting El Salvador's early childhood education strategy. I could name so many more across Asia, across Africa, across many other regions, many of which Marco seems to be in charge of. So these 3 days provide us a really important moment of knowledge and innovation exchange this year. We'll have ample opportunity for decision makers to discuss their priorities, for exchange across the deep insight and experience that we hear from officials and practitioners in ministries of education, to engage with the researchers who are working on applied, engaged research on those crucial topics, and then to try to find the ways to tie it all together with funding, with technical assistance, into an ecosystem of people and organizations that are linking evidence, insight, innovation, decision-making, and financing. And in this, we are really trying to find the ways that we can link all the pieces of the GPE processes together. So our collective objective is to make this experience, these 3 days, an excellent opportunity for learning, for making connections, for listening, and very importantly, deciding, even here, what we can take back to our own contexts, and to continually inform the work of GPE KIX in this region to make sure it is relevant and useful. So congratulations and thanks to the organizers, to SUMA, to OECS, special thanks to the Ministry of Education in Guatemala, and really thanks to GPE to have the vision, the funding, and the strategy for KIX within this strategy period and taking us forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Tricia, for highlighting this importance of connection between knowledge and action, and highlighting also this collaborative work that we're doing with GP KIX, and motivating us always to innovate and strengthen the processes of generating evidence and mobilization of its use. And to end this section, I'd like to welcome Sonia Garcia, International Development Officer of the Embassy of Guatemala, of Canada in Guatemala, for some welcoming remarks. Good morning. For me, it's an honor to address you in the representation of the Embassy of Canada, and I'd like to take Marco's word because as donors, this is more like a goodwill word because we're living in hard times in regards to financing. To remember who we work for, the kids, the girls, the boys. The priorities of Canada in gender equality are in the center of the policies of Canada, and they're still there. And perhaps this is the strongest message. Canada reaffirms its commitment for quality education that's gender sensible, with basis for the whole life learning process. It embraces all the circle of life. All kids and girls are important within their circumstances, no matter their identity, to have the opportunity to fulfill their whole learning circle. We promote development in youngsters and adults in order to achieve success in life. Within these key areas are improving a gender-focused education, quality-focused abilities and skills to strengthen the education within crisis environments, migration in these cases, always with a perspective towards the future with evidences and investigation. Thanks to OECS, I'm here, and we know that a lot of things are being done through your organizations, and I'm really happy to represent Canada in this aspect. We also support to eliminate barriers, especially for girls and young women, to access education to complement their processes. We acknowledge the importance of leadership from the countries of the area, and we work with governments, ONGs, civilian societies, and women's society, academia, and youngsters, parents, and communities. We support participative focuses that support local knowledge, and in all our initiatives, we regard gender equity as transversal access, and we involve also boys and men to question norms, attitudes, and harmful practices to transform these gender inequalities. Recently, through a PADE program, we worked with different ministries of the region exactly to give access to some groups that are not institutionalized. We have reached to some conclusions, but we still have a lot to work in these populations. Today, with KIX GPE and RDRC, there's no exception. It's aligned with Canada, with the learning of children, and we regard this as a fundamental competence in order to have them grow. IDRC is an important block of the international cooperation system of Canada, supporting this generation and the use of evidence to advance towards the building of capacities for a better future, to find robust solutions for these big challenges. Canada is also a donor for the EDGs, and it shows the conviction that global solutions based on articulation and of actors of the North and South are a sustainable way to the future. I wouldn't want to close these words as a citizen of Antigua to highly congratulate the Minister of the Education Ministry of Guatemala. We know the context we're living at, so thank you so much, Mrs. Giraca. You are really committed, like you said, in transformation for the childhood, for the adolescence, that's generating tools for these children, these persons, to face the challenges for the future with a bigger impact. We believe in a democratic country such as Canada that we need to strengthen the states and the public system to generate a better development. We have representatives of 11 countries of Latin America and the Caribbean searching for common solutions and cooperating more tightly within our diversity. That's why we highly believe that only within this collective action, collective and sustained, we can build a better future where everybody has tools to advance. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you. I'd like to thank all the speakers from this space. We have finished this first block where we have heard about many emphases that will be with us during all this process of reflection, of co-buildings.